morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Chester River. And a special welcome this morning to our friends, neighbors, and visitors, both here in the sanctuary and those joining us on Zoom. Our mission, as noted on the cover of the order of service, is to inspire, inform, and support all who seek spiritual and personal growth and a more equal and just community. I am Jan Sprinkle, worship leader today, joining Reverend Kimberly DeBoost for our very interesting holiday-themed service today. Reverend DeBoost is a UU minister based in Tacoma Park, inspiring an artful and art-filled faith. You might ask her more about that later. And she consults with congregations and religious professionals throughout the denomination. In addition to her consulting ministry, she serves the Cedarhurst UUs in the greater Baltimore area. She previously served the Church of the Larger Fellowship, as well as congregations along the Eastern Seaboard and the Great Lakes region. We're glad to see you back on the Eastern Shore here in Chestertown, and we're glad that you fit us into your busy schedule. Before continuing with announcements, as we started 2 weeks ago, today is the third Sunday of Advent. We will recognize that this is the time of waiting and anticipation leading to Christmas. So today, I'll relight the first candle for hope and the second for peace, and now we will add the third candle, the pink one, for joy.
Sundays we like pink.
There. And now for announcements. We have 3. First, it's time. Hello, turn itself off. No, it was working before. It just turns itself off. I let it be idle too long. First announcement. It is time to update that very useful members and friends directory. And I know from personal experience how useful that is. We want everyone to be included. You don't need to be a member. If you have a smartphone, it's a simple process. If you don't, there's not any challenge either. Open the UUCR's Reflection newsletter, scroll down to the new directory announcement, click on the big red Here. You will be given a choice of taking a selfie or uploading a picture already on your phone. We encourage new pictures. Please don't take your high school yearbook picture. And if you don't have a smartphone or don't know how to use it, see David Beeler or John Ramsey. Okay, it is coming up on the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. This has always had a spiritual significance, and our plans on celebrating that significance are coming on Saturday, the 21st of December at 4:30. Sundown is 4:44. We plan on live streaming everything on Facebook. Details to come later. Bring a chair, maybe one for a friend. Bringing a blanket might be a good idea. Given the temperature this morning, I can endorse that. And finally, this is an important announcement. Christmas and New Year's both fall on a Wednesday this year. Office hours will be on the Tuesday prior to each. Holiday-led lines for the order of service and reflections will be on that Tuesday, not Wednesday. And that concludes the announcements. Next step is chalice lighting. I will read the words and Kimberly will play with the flame. And please join me in. We light this chalice as a symbol of the light within all creation. We light this chalice for truth. May the search for truth be within us always. We light this chalice for love. May the love for others be strong in our hearts. Our first hymn of the morning is 224 in the Gray Hymnal.
You want me to play it through before?
Yeah.
Maybe playing it through is a good idea.
Our opening words come from the Reverend Kristen Schmidt. That angle doesn't work. Okay. In this season of waiting, this time when the days grow shorter and the nights grow longer, we keep watch for hope and peace and joy and love to be born in our midst. May the wings of the Spirit open softly within us, gracing us with inspiration, so that our waiting itself becomes the place of a new creation. Come, let us worship together.
Time now.
Here, there's another one over there.
I thought it was me.
I mean, early days.
As I started, this is that time in our service for you to share your joys and concerns with the congregation. For those here in the sanctuary, just come up to the mic. And for this service, we've reinstituted the small lectern here with the major podium there. The reasons for that will become clear later. For those here, just come to this mic and speak. I'll light a candle for you. And I'll light our first candle to acknowledge the challenges and sufferings around the world. And that fills the news each evening, but also for the positive hopes of the Syrian people that their long nightmare may now be over.
I come here with a lot of mixed emotions. I think most of you know that Sandy and I are moving to the Western Shore, and that's happening this Thursday. And I'm going to miss this community. I'm so grateful for all the current friends, members, and past members and friends that have welcomed me to this community. Thank you very much.
And we'll miss you.
This is just to add on to Bob's farewell, because the Social Justice Committee really wants to thank him and wish him the best, because he's been a wonderful member of our committee for many years, and your heart and your thoughts have always been valuable, so we'll miss you too, especially.
I have a concern. We had a great soup and bread. We had a great soup and said event on Friday. However, Mark fell going out to his car. He's okay, he's really sore, but messages and prayers for him would be great. He couldn't make it today because it was just hard for him to move around.
I have a quick joy. Last night we went to the Churchill Theaters. This weekend only. I don't think there's any more shows. There is one. Okay. A Christmas Carol with 42 people in the cast, which is hard to imagine on that stage. And in fact, the stage was seating, and the play was in the middle of the room where there's normally seating. So it was a different experience. Get there early if you have a stage seat, so you can get the front row. Second row is not so great on the stage, looking down through others.
I come as a lion today again. I'm always coming to you as a lion. Today starts the 2-day physical process of packing 500 donations of food for 500 people in our county. I thank everyone who has helped us get the donations, get the work, and yeah, we're going to be handling canned goods for a couple days now.
So,
I just have a concern. I wanted to mention, in my family, my son-in-law he's just come out of the hospital for the 3rd time for pancreatitis, which is related to alcohol abuse. And he still is drinking. He doesn't go to AA. My daughter is struggling with it. She does go to Al-Anon, and she's sort of disgusted with the whole thing. But anyway, they've got 2 teenagers, and I just want to hold the whole family in our prayers.
so this is Bob Coleman at home. Can you hear? So sorry I can't be with you all today, but I'm babysitting my grandson, which should be a joy, I suppose. But I also wanted to pass along, I know I've spoken before about my brother and his battle with pancreatic cancer. So I was with him over last weekend. He went into in-home hospice, and I was staying with him and his wife, Maggie, and son, Don, and he passed on Wednesday. And so actually, that is also a bit of a joy, because he was really suffering in those last weeks. So as he passed, it was nice to be able to see his body at rest out of all the pain. Thank you.
I just wanted to do a quick joy. So 6 days ago, I said, let's do a solstice celebration, and not having any idea of the layers of the onion that needed to be addressed. But I feel so supported that so many people were like, let's do this. I can do this. We'll do this. And it just felt really nice. We haven't done it yet, but just the support feels good. So thank you.
I would also just like to thank everyone who did the soup sampler, organized it, made all the soups and the bread. It was such a lovely event, and my husband and I really enjoyed it, which is wonderful. Thank you.
Just a footnote, on Don Coleman, Bob's brother. He was a neighbor of mine and a very good friend and sailing partner for years. So I'll miss him terribly.
This is the second weekend that the Garfields put on Beauty and the Beast. I was the music director for that. But it's really been remarkable to see. I mean, it's not easy to work with such a large cast. It's the largest cast that I've worked with so far. But it's been so remarkable to see everyone really take shape, everything really take shape. And people have been getting so into the humor, and the music has just improved. It's only gotten better as time passes. It's been a lot of fun to watch that. What's that? Yeah. My niece agreed. She was there last week.
Finally, one more and our last candle for all those joys and concerns held in your hearts and not spoken. And let us now please observe a moment of silence. Blessed be.
Let us continue this attitude of meditation and prayer. Spirit of life, love, joy, and peace. Turn our faces to the east to look for your presence. Turn our faces in any and every direction from which you draw near to us. Teach us to look for you in places we would not expect to find you. Teach us to find you in places so well known to us that we now fail to see you there. Help us to see you in every guest we entertain. Let the beauty of a rose of any bloom reveal your presence to us. Let every bird who wings across the sky above remind us of the freedom that is ours. Let every star in the heavens be a light in the darkness of our lonely nights. Never let us forget that you are love, and that those who abide in love abide in you. Teach us to look, sweet mystery, to the east and north and south and west, that we might find you in every place we look, in every person we see, within ourselves. Blessed be, and amen.
We'll now pass the baskets for your offertory. This is your chance to support the good works of this church.
Our service today is a cantata of sorts in 4 movements, exploring 4 themes of Advent. We'll begin by singing the first verse and then subsequent verses of O Come Emmanuel, number 225. You may stay seated for the singing of these verses. Yep. The first one. O come, Emmanuel, and with your captive children, give comfort to all exiles here, and to the aching heart cheer. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come with us, love to know. I love libraries. So much so that in the early 2000s, I briefly worked for one where I lived in upstate New York. Each year, we would organize a huge book sale. At the start, we just set out boxes of books, or mishmashed. But then we got the idea of organizing, sorting books by genre, and then collecting the stacks of the individual titles that seemed to come in by the dozens. From books like the Da Vinci Code, which we think every single person in the county bought, to huge stacks of John Grisham thrillers and Danielle Steele romances. Our huge stacks were typically fiction, except for one book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. Now, this book is quite handy for first-time expectant mothers. It includes advice on the physical and emotional changes, tells you what's going on with the baby's development, nutritional advice, even sexuality, and advice for fathers-to-be. I don't know a woman in the last, say, 20 years who wasn't given a copy when they announced their pregnancy, usually by a mother or an aunt or a doting best friend. Once you've been through it, they say you don't need the book anymore. So off to the library book sale it goes, onto the pile with dozens of other copies alongside the piles of Grisham and Brown and Steele. But it's handy to know what to expect when you are expecting. Now, before this book, of course, the information was passed down in the oral tradition, from mother to daughter, and has been since the dawn of time. But what of those who don't have mothers to advise them? Or those who are in situations that prevent them from talking to a mother? So now let's imagine that you are a young woman, probably named Miriam, in Nazareth in the Common Era. You've recently betrothed to a man whose Greek and now, English name is Joseph, from the same village. You were brought up to follow the laws of the Torah, and your behavior, sexual and otherwise, is tightly regulated. And things don't go according to plan, and you find yourself pregnant. It had to be shocking in this culture. According to the laws of your time, you should be stoned to death for having sex outside marriage, whether it was consensual or not. You're fearful, you're nervous, you are certain there will be shame brought upon your family, and you have no one to turn to in your shame, no one to tell you what to expect. It's likely that when Mary was pregnant, she had no idea who her child would be. In fact, it's only long after their deaths that we get the great mythic narratives the visitation of the angel Gabriel, the miraculous conception, and Mary's song known to us as the Magnificat. Yet the young mother must simply have said, yes, I will bear this child, despite the risks. She waited for her child to be born and hopefully accepted by her betrothed and her community, hoping like every expectant parent, they'd be healthy, safe, successful, and loved. Hoping like every expectant parent that their children would bring light and love to those around them. And at the core, this story is what the season of Advent is about. It is a time of waiting, waiting for the changes that come as new life grows, waiting for something new to change us, waiting for new birth, and a new light to shine love upon us all.
Spirit of love, come in, for there is much in our lives keeping you out. Our own concerns consume us and turn us inward. Grant us patience. Give us the eyes of love. Open us to the needs of others. Fill us with the love of the season. Verse 2.
Oh, come, your splendor very bright,
As joy that never yields to light. Oh, come and turn all hearts to peace.
that greater war and love shall cease.
Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come within us truth to dwell.
One of Aesop's fables tells the story of a thirsty crow who spotted a pitcher of water, but whose beak wasn't long enough to reach into to get the water. So he started dropping pebbles into the pitcher, and eventually the water began to rise. This tale is often told to illustrate perseverance. But what if instead the water is our belief that, as Theodore Parker says, the moral arc of the universe is long, but bends toward justice? What if the pebbles, which look like boulders to us, are so small that not only does the water not seem to rise, they seem to be creating cracks in the pitcher so that the moral arc seems to be disappearing? We have a too long list of harm present and promised to people of color, immigrants, children, trans folk, women, the First Nations, our democracy, our lands, our planet. And these threats are even more chilling now, given what we know is coming from the next administration. We are indeed in a time of preparation and planning, and yes, I am grateful for organizations that already exist, who have already been thinking about and implementing plans for protection and resistance. I'm grateful for the examples of people like Mark Elias, Olivia Troy, and Harry Littman, who are refusing to comply in advance and are making it clear that they are on the side of justice, on the side of democracy, dare I say, the side of the angels. All the while, every day, we're getting more bad news about all that is going wrong. We're left wondering, how many more pebbles can our pitcher take before justice rises to the top? And more, how do we make sense then of the need to wait in this season of waiting? I mean, we are waiting, right? Waiting for justice in our justice system and safety on our street. We're waiting in our doctor's offices, our schools, our workplaces. We long for justice for everyone. We long for accountability and responsibility from the very people who demand undeserved respect, sometimes violently. We long for a day when every single person would rise up and say, enough is enough. We must end this violence. Oh Lord, how we wait. Waiting for the long moral arc of the universe can be really discouraging and demoralizing. It can bring despair, paralysis, denial. It's exhausting. We cry out, how long, O Lord, how long must we wait? Wait we must. Yet during this Advent season, we are called to wait differently. As the Reverend Annie Gonzalez writes, we are called to an active, hopeful waiting. She reminds us to wait like Mary, a pregnant teenager in an occupied territory who still knows she is sacred. Gonzalez writes that if you too know oppression in your current society, remember how very sacred you are. Remember that you are co-creating divinity with your life. Let your soul magnify the divine, who would scatter the proud and bring down the mighty and fill the hungry with good things. Second, she reminds us to wait like Joseph, who stands by his pregnant fiancée when his society tells him she is wrong, unrespectable, immoral, and also when he himself is confused. We should think carefully about the judgments we make and hear. We must learn to value justice and righteous anger more than respectability and peace. We must push ourselves to dialogue with others and find a way to stand with those who are bringing love into this world, even if they're not doing it exactly the way we'd like. And in our waiting, we must listen and be open to the truth of others' experiences, the violence and condemnation they've experienced, the fear and the struggle they're holding. We cannot step into another's shoes and know their experience, but we can practice radical empathy as best we know how. And so this is the way to wait in these times. We aren't still. No, we keep on moving forward. We keep on with our preparations and our support and our acts of resistance, and we keep hope alive. And we remember truth. We actively wait for a new creation, a beloved community, a way of living into relationship that defies the systems that destroy lives in our country and our world. We actively wait for true liberation that draws the circle of love ever wider.
Spirit of truth, come in. For in our world and in ourselves there is conflict. Too many lives form the battleground of the struggle for justice and power. Grant us patience as we keep on moving forward, never turning back. Give us a common dream. Fill us with peace. Fill us with the truth of this season. Verse 3. Oh, come your day, spring, come and cheer
our spirits by your presence here, and on in every broken soul,
as
vision that can see the whole. Rejoice, rejoice. Ah. In the film Michael, which seems recent and really isn't, it's like 25 years old, and it seems very strange to me. But in the film Michael, there is a moment when the titular archangel, played by John Travolta, has an opportunity to brag a little about the influence he has had on humanity. I invented standing in line, he insists. Before that, everybody just gathered around. It was all a big mess. And I said, well, why don't we just make a line? When asked what the line is for, he replies, to get in. We're really good at waiting in line. We wait for the next available operator. We wait for the bus. We wait for the checkout. We wait for the check to arrive, for the wound to heal, for the workday to end, for the call from a loved one, for a good diagnosis. And we wait to start things. As soon as I finish my degree, after I get a new job, as soon as I meet someone, once I move, after I lose some weight, once we start the renovations, when the death of my partner doesn't feel so sharp, as soon as this depression lifts. Since the pandemic, time has seemed meaningless and the waiting seems forever. I mean, I look at my calendar and it tells me it's December. That just doesn't seem right. Wasn't it just May? Well, what happened to August? What even is time? I mean, the only way I really know it's December is that there are signs of the holiday season. The tree, avoiding poinsettias. Yes, it's a real allergy. The colored lights on the houses down the street, the daily emails from stores imploring us to buy, and the advent calendars and the candles that remind us of this time of waiting, this time of pausing. And while December is often a frenetic month full of shopping and baking and parties and pageants, there's always a sense that our pace is about to change. We look outside to the bare trees and touch the solid ground and notice a dearth of songbirds. And yet we know too that underneath the ground, living things are changing and growing through this time. The writer of Ecclesiastes in the Hebrew scriptures reminds us that for everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up what is planted. It is true for the earth. It is true for us. And yet, we are left with an unsettled feeling, a combination of listlessness and yearning and distraction, loneliness, boredom. And it's tinged with grief and anger and outright fear. We all feel it in different measure at different times. People going through unprecedented times always do. We want it to be over. We want there to be obvious and decisive solutions. But they don't come, and it's hard to see them on the horizon. And so we despair a little more. And we wait, because we're really good at waiting. Advent becomes even more important now, because in the midst of this time of whatever this is, Advent asks us to be present to ourselves. It is Mary Oliver's call to us in her poem, Wild Geese. You do not have to be good You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Pardon me. Advent, like the wild geese, call us back to ourselves. And it asks us to believe that the light will return because somewhere in our brains and in our bodies, we know it will. Advent asks us to be present with and for each other. In this time when all seems too much to bear, it asks us to be a light for one another. And I know it may seem difficult in such a time as this. It seems almost offensive when our own inner light is diminished by all we're holding to be poked and prodded with cheery Christmas songs, an abundance of bright decorations and sentimental, almost sticky sweet TV specials and movies. We have so much to do to prepare for this life or death fight for liberation and justice. How can we possibly find the light and the joy this season calls us to? How can we be light for others when we can't seem to find it for ourselves? How can we bear this long, long night and prepare for what's to come and still be present with and for others? And yet we can be, must be, each other's light. We can share our own stories of loss and fear and struggle and tell the stories of how we managed, how we found comfort, how we let the soft animal of our body love what it loves. And by doing so, we bring a little comfort and light to those who need it. We may not believe that our presence can bring light to others, but in this time of waiting for the light to come, we can answer the cries of others who are lost in the longest night. And together, we'll find a way out.
Spirit of light, come in. For there is much in our lives closing our eyes to the possible. Pressure mounts with the countdown, so many things to do. The season casts long shadows on regrets and things left undone. The days remind us of our pains and troubles. Grant us patience. Fill us with wonder and anticipation. Fill us with the light of this season. Verse 4.
And so we wait in excitement and anticipation, anxiety and nervousness, action and presence, anger and paralyzing frustration, and confidence and dread. Sometimes all of these things all at once. Yet even in this most difficult December in this almost unbelievable timeline, Advent reminds us over and over to stop, to be still, to give thanks. When we wait and let ourselves be present to ourselves, we find those things we are grateful for. And when we notice gratitude, well, that's how hope gets in. Now, the problem, of course, is that a sliver of hope times the expectations of the holiday season means we often hope in a nostalgic way. Maybe if I decorate enough, I'll feel the holiday spirit. That's the story of my mother. Maybe if I buy more gifts, there will be joy. There have been some very interesting Christmases in my family. Maybe my distant relative will come home. She hasn't yet. Maybe this time it'll be different. Maybe I'll be able to reclaim the joy of years gone by. And we know that may not happen, and our hope diminishes a bit again. Until we remember that hope comes rushing in when we give up hope for a better past. Let me repeat that. Hope comes when we give up hope for a better past. When we release the things we cannot change, we can see where hope still exists. It isn't easy. We're conditioned to long for days gone by. But Advent calls us to be present what's happening within now. It calls us to stop, be still, to notice, to be present. It calls us toward a generative and possible hope, even when hope is hard to find. Advent asks us to be present in the moment, even as we are throwing up our hands in frustration, even as we're making endless lists, even as we're dreading awkward family interactions made fraught with anxieties over safety, even as we are feeling overwhelmed by the pressures of this season, even as we are dwelling in regrets and inadequacy, even as we are dwelling in our loneliness, even as we are preparing to live out our values in a world that needs us more than ever. Even with all those things, Advent calls us to be present to the moment, what is needed in this moment, to meet the moment. Advent teaches us the really hard lesson of waiting, of anticipating. Advent is open-ended. And when we are present to our waiting and active in our waiting, we can feel that sense of hope that waiting promises, that our pains and sorrows and troubles may ease, that the moral arc of the universe will bend toward justice, that the baby will be born, that the oil in the lamp will last one more night, that the light of the sun will come again. In the waiting, there is hope.
Spirit of hope, come in. For the days darken, and we sometimes wonder if our work is for naught. Wounded souls in a wounded world, we need you. Grant us patience. Fill us with promise and potential. Fill us with joyous anticipation of possibility. Fill us with the hope of this season. Let's finish with hymn number 346. It's 4 verses, but I think they go very quickly.
You may rise.
We have just a little time available for discussion, questions, comments, and at this time, we will do that.
Thank you so much. That was just what I think we all needed to hear, that in the present moment there is hope, because you don't look backward what's gone, and you don't look ahead because you don't know. And in that present moment, there's all the hope that we need. So thank you for that.
And let's sing some more. That was so lovely that you included all that singing in service.
A shameless plug for our emerging choir rehearsing immediately after service.
Hello, I'm a visitor with Jackie here, a good friend. I just wonder about Joseph. If I was Joseph, my wife is expecting any day now, and I'm from the, Bethlehem area or there, and you're supposed to know stuff, right? So here's Joseph. He goes to Bethlehem on Christmas Eve, the height of the holy season, and he's surprised that he can't get a room at the hotel. Anyway, just something I wonder.
Except it wasn't a holy season.
Not yet.
I thank you too. It was a lovely service, and I could relate to a lot of not having time and all the things to do. And I'm so grateful for this moment that I'm sitting and hearing such wonderful things. And I thank you so much.
Thank you. One of the things that most resonated with me was the fact that if we can feel grateful, it provides an opportunity for hope to come in. And we can all feel grateful. So hope is with us.
I'll just share that in my darkest moment, I had read that statement, but also read a bit that the same author had said about, that everything we need, we already have. And my defiant, terribly depressed self said, oh, I'll show you what I don't have. And I pulled out a piece of paper and a pen. And it started with the chair I was sitting in, and the pen and the paper, and then a cat jumped up. And I looked over at the bookshelf, and my art supplies and my magazine subscriptions and my friends, and soon I'd filled up the page. And that was the first moment I was like, oh, I do have things. I do have gratitude for the things in my life. And that was really the turning point. So thank you for reminding me of that.
Thank you all. We'll now extinguish the chalice with the unison words that are in your order of service. We extinguish this flame. Thank you, Michael. And a quick reminder, there is no service next Sunday, but Monday for the evening, it will be the eve of the eve. If you need to know more about that, please ask one of us.